Okay, so let's take you now to the town hall, and that's where Trevor Nombija will now take over, even as we ask that crucial question: is government doing enough to handle the challenges that small-scale traders are facing in Kenya in 2019? Trevor, over to you.
Thanks, Higgs. Live from the Daystar University Auditorium. Tonight, we talk about the plight of small-scale traders. There's the Biashara Fund that has been established. Do they know what it is? How will it help them? And also, the presidential directive made on the 27th to have the containers released from the ICD. Has it been done? What is the delay? Let me introduce my guests real quick before we get into the audience, who are mostly made up of traders, and they'll tell us what their main concerns are. I'll start from my immediate left, PS Betty Maina. Thank you so much for coming in. She's the Principal Secretary, State Department of Investment and Industry. Sante Sana, widely involved with SMEs. We'll find out what the delays are all about. Followed by Charles Musei, Acting Director, Quality Assurance and Inspection, Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEBS. They've been under fire lately. He'll explain also how they make sure quality is done through. And also Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, Member of Parliament, Madeira. He has a bill in Parliament that is seeking to ensure that more than any contract worth more than $1 billion shillings, less than $1 billion shillings, is given to local proprietors. But we'll find out why SME sectors, what their issues are. And Mashirima Kapombe is with me. Today we started in reverse. So let's start with the container issue. And we have a trader in the audience with us, Mashirima. Containers zimeachiliwa ama bado?
Naam, mfanyabiashara huyu anaitwa Edna Midimu. Hebu tuambie kama mizigo yako imeachiliwa. Simama tafadhali.
Not all containers have been released.
Why is that? Are you getting any explanation?
No, not any explanation from the shipping agents.
Okay. Mashirima, pia tuko na mmoja, Sam Karanja, ambaye alikuwa State House. And that's the delegation that spoke to the president, and they had an agreement. Sam, what's the delay? How many containers have been released so far? Because you just came from ICD today.
Yes, thank you, Trevor. I've been at the ICD for the past 3 weeks.
Yeah. Because
we are the team that has been looking into how we are going to release those containers. Camping there are so many things which have come up.
Yeah.
We have about 514 containers to clear so far, which have been approved. We were able to collect about 700 containers, but 200 containers did not get to the threshold. And there has been so many punitive policies which we have come to understand, and especially I'd like to direct the questions to KEBS.
To KEBS. So first of all, there are 514. How many have been released so far?
Only 26.
So this is 21 days later.
Yes.
That's an average of 1 container per day.
Yes, we have been able only to deconsolidate 26 from the small medium enterprise.
And what's the delay?
Well, there are so many things which are coming up, and especially KEBS has played a very big role when it comes to the delay, because number one, there is a bureaucratic way that they are operating in. And let me give an example. There are some containers. Today we had about 122 women who came to collect their containers of cooking oil, and we have the documentations with them. And they have been able to engage with KEBS, and KEBS has not been able to give them a solid stand whether their containers are going to be released or not.
Okay.
And so the government, KEBS should, we have been engaging even KPA heads, we have been engaging KRA heads there, and it has been a roller coaster for us as ISTA.
All right, we'll come back to you, Sam, in just a bit. We have a representative from KEBS, Charles Musei.
Yeah.
You're the Acting Director, Quality Assurance and Inspection at Kenya Bureau of Standards.
Yes.
What's the delay?
Thank you for the question. I think some of the challenges which we have been facing with the small traders is them trying to clear their issues with the private entities like the shipping lines, where they have to go and clear the payments which they owe to them. And once that is done, then the containers come to KEBS, and then we carry out verification. Remember, these are consignments which came without certificates of conformity, most of them. And then we have to ensure that the quality is as per the standards. So we inspect them, and where testing is required, then we pick our samples and we take them for testing. As KEBS, to ensure that we have no delays, we've actually strengthened our staff on the ground to ensure that there are not delays so that these containers can be released as they are cleared by the other agencies.
Sam, is that the case? Are you satisfied with that explanation? Because they're saying it's a shipping line issues, not the KEBS ban.
Not really, we are not satisfied because as he's saying that he has strengthened the staff on the ground, and today I've been running up and down their offices to make sure that they have cleared, they have given us a stand on those containers. The thing that must be done on the ground, because we are the people on the ground, you have to speed up the process of certifying. You don't need to stay for about 4 or 5 days to certify whether a product is supposed to be good or bad. You should speed up that process so that we can know in 2 days whether that whatever is going to be released has to be released to the trader, because we don't need to come there for a whole week then to get a sample, then you're told you have to get a sample the other week. Because if you look at KRA and KPA, they themselves, KPA has been able to waiver, to waiver the charges, and it's just taking a day. You write a letter, then they give you a response. Why is it that we have to take our documents, or the traders have to take their documents to KEBS, only to be just being? They're saying that we are escalating it to the next person, Okay. Why can't you give us a clear guideline on how it's supposed to be done?
Right.
And if, for example, we have given a product, why shouldn't it take the least time possible so that we can beat the president's deadline?
Okay.
It was last Friday, and we hope that he's going to extend it maybe to 27, because that's a letter that we have already extended to him.
All right. Let me bring in PS on this.
Okay, I think it's important, Karanja, to also tell the full picture. What government waived was fees and charges, but we did not waive inspection, because it is important to ensure that the goods that are cleared and come into the country meet the standards. So it's important that those are, after you deconsolidate, it is important to confirm the quality of products. Now, you have referred to edible oils. Last year, there was a large consignment of edible oils that failed the standards. They did not have the necessary fortification that is required by the standards in the country. So if you have represented the same goods, they have already failed before, and a verdict has been given. So it is important that during this moment of urgency and what the president has declared, that you do not also sneak in, or do not find some traders sneaking goods that are not compliant into the country. So the responsibility of the agencies is to ensure that whatever is expedited is also safe for consumers.
But how do we speed up that process?
Well, you cannot speed up. It's been rejected before. This is the issue that we're dealing with. These goods have been tested several times, and they failed the Kenya standard. So and the traders were advised to ship those goods, to ship them to source, or to organize for confirmation with the standard. And they've actually been given the option of fortifying those goods within the country in a manner that will also comply with the standard.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Sam, if these goods have been rejected before, are you then trying to circumvent the system and take advantage of the presidential directive?
Let me say this. I have documents which show some of the goods. I don't know what Madam Betty is referring to. If there's those goods, we have not synced them. There are those goods which have passed the test and they have not been released. And I have the documentations. We have the documentation at the ICD. The goods which have not passed, we actually want even the government to go through the process, because you do not want to sneak through goods which now which have not passed the standards of KEBS into the market. What we are saying is this: we want to know whether the goods pass or not passing, because if they pass, they get to the trader. If they don't pass, they remain for destruction. But there's no need of keeping hopes to a trader for 3 or 1 month.
Okay.
It's good enough to tell them your good did not pass. We do not want to circumvent any government process. We want, if our goods are good, they get to the traders. If they are bad, we are willing the government to destroy them. Okay. Because as an association and also as traders, we do not want to pass things which do not pass the government standards.
Right.
Okay, but I'd like to then we've given that assurance as well before, that any goods that comply with the standards will be released as without hindrance. And actually, the numbers I have from both ourselves and KRA as of today is that out of the 514 containers, 71 have been released.
Okay.
That's and that's what that has come actually this evening when I was preparing. 71 have been released, but it's also important to know that in the process of clearing goods, there is a role for the importer, there is a role for the agencies. If you do not declare your goods, last week KRA was forced to put an advert in the paper to announce and to just say these are containers that have arrived. We believe that they are for consolidated goods, but it is important that the owners who have who suspect that these goods might be in those containers come and honor, because we can't process goods if there is nobody who has declared that they belong to them. So this is a challenge that we've had since last year. When the consolidators disappeared, it was impossible to identify, but it's being resolved. But I think, given the fact that if people haven't all come forth, then you will not clear goods.
Okay, do we have a timeline that KRA is looking at to ensure that all these goods are cleared?
If we could clear these goods tomorrow, we would. Because there's no interest. So there's no interest from government side to hold goods, where their bona fides are known. It is congesting space. It is occupying the space at ICD. So we don't actually have an interest. It's costing us lots of money to find ancillary facilities to keep these goods, or to delay other genuine traders who require their goods out, and the places it's all stuck there. So it's important that the traders come forth, declare, and deconsolidate, get their goods inspected, and go. We're not charging for the inspection.
All right.
Yeah.
Honorable Rigathi, I want to bring you in on this, and it's a different conversation now. In the past month or so, the conversation has been about foreign nationals coming into Kenya and setting up shop and doing business, the same things that Kenyans are already doing or can do. Where does the problem lie, in your view?
I think, first and foremost, we're having a problem where we've given most of the businesses to the foreigners. And secondly, and sadly so, lack of enforcement of immigration laws. Trevor, we have very tight immigration laws in this country that state clearly that no foreigner should come and do what can be done by Kenyans. That only those foreigners who have skills and available in this country should be here. But what we are seeing is very sad, where you find Chinese people and other people doing manual jobs, selling electronics in Nyamakema, down in Taveta Road, repairing punctures of border-borders, selling border-border spares. In fact, it's very embarrassing to us as government. And the other day, the Minister for Interior, when there was an outcry in Kekomba where some Chinese were there, he only came in now to make a move after the outcry and deported 7 of them. But that is a drop in the ocean. These people are here in thousands. And the Minister for Interior was very clear that they are here illegally. And the question is, if they are here illegally, what are they doing here? Where did they come through? They came through the ports of entry. And they are here. And we are here just not doing much about it. They have come, taken over what our people can do, literally driven our people out of business. And we have people in the interior who are said to be very active. But we want to see this activity in real terms. And I, at the risk of being seen to be very extreme, I would advise Fred Matiang'i to do what we did when we had the threat of Al-Shabaab, to be able to get these foreigners to know who is here legally and illegally. Round up all these fellows in Kasarani, ask them to come with their papers. Anybody who doesn't belong to this country, check the papers, and those who are found to be here when they don't need to be here, put them in lorries, straight to the airport, and deport them, so that these businesses can be taken by our people. You know, we are here crying about unemployment. We are saying we can't get jobs for our young people, and that is the truth. But the little jobs that are there are taken over by foreigners, and they are doing what we can do, They are driving trucks.
Yeah.
They are driving pickups. We are reaching a point where they are going to start roasting maize.
Okay.
Or even, operating a car wash.
Okay.
And there is unwillingness or negligence on the part of the people in charge of immigration, the Ministry of Interior, to take action on these foreigners to protect our people. And the law is clear. We don't even need to amend in the law.
Yeah.
The law is clear. These fellows have no business being in this country, and I want to take this opportunity to urge the people in charge to mount an operation, to round up all these foreigners who are here, who have no business being in this country, go back to their countries and let those jobs, let those activities be carried out by the people of Kenya.
PS, is this a concern for the government? Because there are many people who are saying that we have a reciprocity sort of approach where also Kenyans can trade in other countries. And it's not just China, it's everywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, people's engagement, I mean, it's possible to engage in petty trade and petty businesses in many other countries. It's not just here. I know we've seen a lot of us engaged in petty trade. When you visit European capitals, you see a lot of Africans engaged in that. But it's not something that, I mean, and it is clearly also regulate, but it's not a basis of reciprocity. It's just an element of the structure of small business and ease of entry. But coming back to our own question, I think it is the issue that Mheshimiwa raises is an issue of concern. In the past, there used to be legislation to regulate which types of businesses you could get into and to register businesses. And I think through that, we controlled. There used to be a time when manufacturers could not distribute their own products, and they had to engage in partnerships with retailers, wholesalers, and distributors, and that enabled a lot of businesses to grow. A lot of our own businesses have grown as a result of that supportive framework. But that legislation was repealed in was it 2006? The trade licensing law. So we've actually had a chance to think about it as a ministry, because there's no space for the minister to intervene in regulating directly, given those instruments. But there is another instrument. You can still use the investment policy, which was recently passed, and that actually provides for negative listing or for categorization of businesses, either depending on who can play in it. Women, men, foreigners, non-foreigners, youth, aged. I mean, there's opportunities for the minister to actually set and regulate businesses based on national policy. So. We are currently exploring how that can be strengthened and how we can use it. But there's another instrument that is available, and that is for local authority, for county governments. When they issue the single business permit, there's actually an opportunity for them to align the issuance of the single business permit with confirmation that the businesses are within the law, so they can establish that this foreign business has met the threshold, which the current threshold in the investment law is 100,000. It's $100,000. 10 million shillings is the threshold for foreign business. So before counties issue a single business permit, they should be able to confirm that. They should also be able to confirm, as Mheshimiwa says, that the proprietors are in the country legally. Because so there are instruments that we can utilize right now, even before we give the minister, we amend the Investment Act for the minister to gazette and negative list some investments. So it's important that we implement the law as it currently is.
All right, let's bring in the audience, and they're mostly drawn from traders who have very many questions. Mashirima?
Naam, Trevor, nataka kuanza hapa na mfanyabiashara anayefahamika kama Natasha. Biashara yake inahusiana na masuala ya vipodozi na swali lake linahusiana sana sana na leseni. Nadhani ni swala ambalo litaweza kufafanuliwa zaidi na wageni wako hapo mbele. Natasha.
Nauliza hivi, naitwa Natasha kutoka Kampala Center. Swali langu ni, kama mali nafanyia biashara, kuna watu wengi, foreigners wengi sana. Wengi wametoka Rwanda. Shida si hata kwa foreigner peke yake. Wanakuja, wanaenda City Hall, wanapata barua ya kuweka kwa kazi. Huyo mtu hana ID na amepata barua kutoka City Hall, akona license. Huyo mtu anaenda further to bank, anapata loan, ana-establish biashara yake. Another thing, watu akiweka biashara yake, anaona I'll get back to my country, get some employees. Mimi hapa sitapata kazi hapo kama sina pesa ya kuweka kazi, hawezi niandika kazi. How about that?
Okay. Honorable Rigathi, are the counties failing the Kenyans based on what
I don't think it's really the issue of the county. Had we not allowed these people into the country in the first place, we would not be having the crisis. So let's first tighten the immigration laws. And where there is an exception, 1 or 2, because you can't be 100% effective, then the counties now can come in and say, whom are we licensing? You know, who are you? What is your identity? Are you a Kenyan? Are you not? But first and foremost, let us check, because it's very possible through the ports of entry. Yeah. It's the simplest way of dealing with this crisis, Trevor, by making sure that, and the minister say they are not issuing work permits here. Yeah. The work permits are issued out of the country. So if you come in with a work permit, you come in and work. And you only be given a work permit to do that which we cannot do. And that is not what my good lady is talking about. Yeah. That we can do. Okay. You know, these people should come here for things like geology, engineering, very serious things and complex that we are not able to do. Yeah. But the kind of business these people are doing, they have no business being in this country. And if we can tighten the entry points to make sure that those who come here are tourists, they come, most of them come with the tourist visas, and then they don't go back. So there must be a way of following up all the people who come with the tourist visa, so that at the expiry of the tourist visa, they are able to go back. Okay. But I can see there's a lot of laxity, there's a lot of disinterest. And I can tell you, Trevor, these small traders are, by any definition now, an endangered species. These people, in my constituency, there are so many people who used to eke out a living here in Nairobi. Yeah. They have come back to the village as destitutes. Yeah. People who are taking their children to school, they are back home. People who are taking their children to boarding, they have taken them to public schools. Yeah. People who could afford 3 square meals can afford 1 meal. You can see the level of suicides in this country.
You are part of the legislators elected to represent those same people you're talking about.
Yes,
what are you doing about it?
What you are saying, you know, what we are saying ourselves is that I'll be able to explain when you give an opportunity the kind of legislation I'm coming with in terms of protecting our people from unfair competition from foreigners, so that this is our country. At the end of it all, we need foreigners, true, but not at the expense of our people. And I can tell you, the situation today, it's so grave. And I'm embarrassed, even like what we are doing about the release of the containers. Did it have to take the intervention of the President of the Republic of Kenya, the Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, to come and intervene on a matter that has been there almost for 2 years? Yet we have ministers, we have PSs, we have directors, they were just there until the outcry was so much that it got to the attention of the president. Yeah. Some of us were embarrassed that the president of the republic would spend a day at the container depot sorting out container issues when he's supposed to be dealing with the serious issues of management of the affairs of this country, of the big four, trying to get money for serious things. Those are things that other people can do at a lower level. But because of the neglect, because of sheer insolence on the part of those who have been given that responsibility, it had to take the president. I want to thank him because the outcry was just too much.
All right.
But we feel bad ourselves.
Let's give PS a chance to respond to that, because that was a direct allegation. Do you reckon that you and your peers failed the president? Because I know it's not just in your own docket only.
No, actually, I'm glad the president did visit and give that directive. But I think the other thing that we also need to be cognizant of, and Karanja was present. What we were dealing with is a large number of containers that came into the country that people actually had intended to divert by declaring that they were exports. Because that was one of the things we were dealing with. These containers had been declared as exports to Uganda, to Sudan.
Yeah.
But actually what they were intending to do is once you cross the border, then you divert the goods back into the country.
So you're dealing with unscrupulous traders.
You're dealing with unscrupulous traders. Two, we're dealing with an issue of consolidation, where because many people, when they go to China or Dubai, they can't buy enough to fit into a container. But they didn't have, those goods were not declared.
Okay.
One person, the consolidator, had declared and consigned the goods to himself. Once he was then told these goods needed to be inspected, they disappeared, and they disappeared with people's goods and information. So those are the kind of things that we're still having to do. I mean, this problem will not be solved tomorrow. I mean, Karanja can also tell you that, because they're still undeclared.
Okay.
Undeclared containers.
All right.
The third thing, which is important, please don't, is that we have said that all goods must be inspected before they come into the country.
Yeah.
But because these goods, people intended to divert them and to misdeclare as exports, they hadn't been inspected.
Okay.
So there are very many. I mean,
there are many dynamics.
There are many dynamics, and we're not all angels.
Okay.
So I think even small traders, Banagashagwa, they also need to obey the law of the land. You cannot be protected if you don't obey the law. So we're really trying to manage this situation and still discharge our responsibility, and especially as as border keepers, to ensure that you still allowed into the country the things that meet the threshold for quality
in the country. All right. But Charles, I want to bring you in very briefly before we take a quick break. There was a concern by a trader there who said that their people were selling products, beauty products. The question is, do you have a way of tracking and ensuring that those beauty products being sold by alleged foreigners are actually of the standard that we require in Kenya? Do you know how many of them are here? Do you know, can you track them?
Yes, we do. We do have another section which we call market surveillance, who work together with the multi-agency team, the other agencies, and they go out there looking for these goods, and we also get intelligence, and when we get such goods, we confiscate them and destroy them. Because some of them are outright bans, like some cosmetics, because they have what we have banned, ingredients like hydroquinone, which is said to be cancer causing. So what we would like them to they should come to us and volunteer some of this information to us, because all of us, it is our responsibility. So when we get this information, we treat it with the confidentiality, and we move in to arrest.
All right.
Because as we mentioned, then there are those of us who don't want to use the right channels. So some of them find their way.
So far you're relying on the people on the ground to bring the information to you.
And then we have our team, the market surveillance team,
which
also does that.
All right, Mashirima?
Yes.
Na Trevor, maswali yako mengi tu. Kuna Wanjau Gachagua, nadhani atampatia nafasi somo yake hapo mwakilishi wa Mathira Rigathi Gachagua aweze kueleza zaidi kuhusiana na huo mswada wake bungeni. Pia kuna swali lingine kuhusiana na ule muda ambao unapaswa kuchukuliwa katika kukagua ile mizigo ambayo inaingia humu nchini. Haya yote baada ya mapumziko.